I also want to mention that it sounds like based on when you started and how you were growing, a lot of these franchises that you sold were awarded like right during or right as the Great Recession was still on. So you were able to battle through the Great Recession and keep growing.
Yeah. Once we understood how to develop, we didn't really, probably, I don't know if this was your story, but the first franchise development person we had on staff was me.
Me too.
And
yes.
So, I was flying into people's homes on Saturday morning to talk about this franchise opportunity. We didn't have all the technology even we have now, but telephone calls, I didn't have a process, and so I was also didn't really know how to find people. Once we understood a little bit more about how to find qualified franchise candidates, I pulled myself out of the sales role and we brought a friend dev team in, and then everything became very much processed at that point. And you didn't have to be the world's best salesperson. You just had to follow the process and it worked. So finding qualified candidates, we worked with the broker networks that worked really well for us. And then, of course, having the right friend dev team to know how to communicate and educate our business model and franchise opportunity was step two.
So you would agree then, starting out as a new franchisor, that if the founder has sales skills, there's a great benefit to you being the person as the franchise development contact.
No doubt. I mean, you have other obligations, so it's definitely difficult.
Oh
because
yeah.
a full-time salesperson is just selling. You're not going to be able to do it all day.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some complications if you have a large lead flow of franchise candidates. But for me, I wanted to meet the people. I wanted to show my passion and my belief in the model. I'm doing the same thing here at Pink Zebra. We have, with the exit, thankfully, we have the capital to do a lot of things here. But I've chosen to be the franchise development person, at least for now, because I want to talk to every single franchise candidate. For this business model to work in this industry, we need system, we need process. It's what every franchise brand needs. It's going to be successful, but we need a strong culture that's led by the ownership in that local market. If you don't believe the customer experience is the way for us to separate ourselves, then a manual is not going to do it for you. You've got to believe it in your heart and your brain, and then communicate that same belief with your employees, and then the rest kind of takes care of itself. So for us to find those people, the right people, probably means we don't grow quick. We don't necessarily win awards. We won't sell 100 territories this year. We're on pace to what we think, 5 to 10 deals per year. But that also means I get to personally get involved in that process and give the brand the best opportunity to bring in what I call the forefathers of the brand. Like these folks that we're bringing in right now, people years from now are going to look to them for direction. They're going to look at them and say, hey, you were successful. How did you do it? You've been around for 5 years and kick and tell. How'd you do it? If we bring in the wrong people right now and they're not successful, they're going to tell the wrong message, from years from now. And it's going to be harder for the future franchisees to believe in the system.
Oh yeah. Those first dozen franchisees could make or break your system based on the culture. Wouldn't you agree? First of all, tell me, how did you, let's go back to how many franchise locations does Pink Zebra have now?
Yeah, we have 10 open.
Okay.
Most of those are in the Southeast again, because we're still located in Birmingham. We have 8 in the Southeast. And we have a couple others. We have one in Oklahoma City, and then another opening in Denver, Colorado. So we're very excited about that one. That's going to be our first non-South location. And we have a lot of people interested right now. So many people, it's hard to keep up with, honestly, because people are pretty excited about what we're doing. They know the industry is strong, tons of demand out there, big tickets like I've talked about. And they also know that very few people, if any, have done anything to attack it, to disrupt it. So there's a lot of excitement out there, and we've turned people away. That's a hard thing to do, but we've had to turn a few people away that looked at this investment the wrong way. So that's a difficult thing to do as a young franchise brand. But I feel like it's important to the future success of us.
Oh yeah, that is not a rookie mistake right there by yourself. You know better. You've been there before. I know I've been there before. When you're first starting out, you want to sell franchises and you don't know what the right person looks and sounds like. You just don't know those traits, but after you've been around the block for a while, you can kind of pick up on that. And we also, like I said earlier, you know that those first franchisees really established that foundation. I know a question that probably a lot of emerging franchisors would have hearing your story is, how did you find that first, 10 franchises?
So here is a little different than there. So at Two Maids, we initially did not work with broker networks because we thought we were so attractive that everybody would just find us. And it took us a little bit over a year to figure out it's not quite that simple. So once we started working with some selective broker networks, we were able to attract a much more qualified candidate. It really changed the game for us. Here, we already knew that. And so we went straight to the broker networks, and that's who we exclusively, all of our leads come from brokers at this point. And what we get from, we get someone's got to want to be in the home services space. Someone's got to meet a certain investment criteria. But most importantly, someone's got to really understand that this is not just going to be a paper investment. And we tell them that. You're not going to necessarily have to be there every day. Certainly not going to have to move anything. You're not providing manual labor, but you are going to have to do more than just consider this a stock investment. This is not real estate. This is not a stock market investment. This is an active ownership position. You're going to invest 10 to 20 hours a week, unless you want to be an owner operator, and we do have a few of those, but that's not necessarily for everybody. A lot of people confuse franchising with the word easy. I think it's easier with a franchise system, but I don't think it's easy. And so we tell that to people, like, you're going to have to put some legwork into this business. And some people were okay with that. Some people were like, I don't know, I think I want another model that doesn't require as much of my time, which is always interesting to me, because why not just invest in a home or something, But when you own a franchise at Pink Zebra, we do expect our owners to do more than read reports and write checks.
Sure. What would you say are some of the most valuable traits that you have found from your successful franchise owners in this business and in Two Maids? What are some of the most valuable traits a franchisee has that you think they're the ones that are going to be successful?
So probably the same thing you already know, like the more involved in the business, the better. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you a great example. This happened at Two Maids years ago, and I was traveling. We had a really fast growing store in Virginia Beach, and they were just barely open, but they were already just kicking everybody's tail. Like, they had exceeded all revenue marks that we didn't even think were possible for a brand new business, but they were doing it. And it was a semi-absentee owned model. So the owner wasn't there every day. So I said, I'm coming up. I gotta spend a day with you. I gotta see what's going on here, because you got some magic. So I'm in there, and the owner is present. Apparently, he would show up every day for what we call a morning meeting, where you meet everybody and then they go do the work, right? 15 minutes long, it's nothing. But in that meeting, as it was finished, the owner talked to there was about 12 employees there at the time. Each one of those 12 people he talked about, and I'm like, hey, how was your date last night? How's your mom doing? I know she didn't feel well yesterday, and all these other personal stories. That told me that he knew these people, and they knew him, and they felt that. After they left, he started talking to his manager about customers, and he starts talking about the craziest things, like, hey, don't forget, she likes her pillow on the left side instead of the right side of the couch, and all these really small details, even though he wasn't in the office every single day. And so that following day, I visited one of our poorer performing stores for the opposite reason. I was concerned because they weren't growing the way we expected them to, and I wanted to figure out why. Same thing, some absentee business. So we communicate. I say, I'm going to be there for the morning meeting, whatever, just like the day before Virginia Beach. So when I get there, the owner's not there. The manager's calling, I'm calling, we're texting, like, where is this guy? He never showed. So we said, girls, you got to go. No, I don't know what's going on. We'll talk about it later. Just go do your job. And about an hour later, the manager showed up, had a big grin on his face, and had 2 hands of biscuits, and each hand was a bunch of like sausage biscuits or whatever for breakfast. And he was very excited, and he looked around and he said, where is everybody? I've got breakfast for everybody. And we was like, they've been gone for an hour. He said, oh my gosh, I thought we started at 9. I didn't know we started at 8. He had owned that business for a year. And so I had some tough conversations with him and really try to challenge him to change how he was owning this business and how he's managing his people. And he did it. It took a while, but over time, the business started growing and growing. It's doing great. As far as I know, it's still doing great. All that said, the more involved the owner can be, meaning, yes, you're going to know KPIs, you're going to know certain revenue marks, and you're going to know what payroll is. But the more you can know about the people of your business, both the customers and the employees, I feel like that's really the secret. If you can know who these people are, besides just, an invoice or just someone on your payroll, then it's going to be better for you as the owner and for the business.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.